Hello, Stephen King-Italia. My name is Hans-Åke Lilja, and I run the website Lilja's Library, The World of Stephen King. I have been sent some questions from you, and I will do my best to answer them, and I hope you will find them interesting. The first question is a little bit about how I discovered Stephen King, and if it was love at first sight when I started to read him. And it wasn't. My first book I got when I was 13 years old, and I got it as a Christmas gift from my parents, who thought that I should read less comics and more books. And I still today don't know why they thought Carrie was a good book to start with, but they seem to think so. So I read that, and I thought it was okay, but I still enjoyed comics more, to be really honest. And a while later, I had to do a book report in school, and I remember I read something about Stephen King, so I checked out his section in the library, and I found Cujo, which of course had the cover with the big fangs, and that looked really scary, and of course I had to pick that one. So I picked that one and I read it, and that time it was love at first sight. So from there on, I read everything I could find. First, I read the things that was translated into Swedish, which is my native language. And after that, I started reading in English, and now I always read in English, almost, since it's released in that language first. I do reread some books in Swedish, but mostly I read in English. The second question is about the website itself, how it became the site it is today. And when I started the site 25 years ago, I didn't really plan to run it for 25 years. The internet was fairly new, and I couldn't really find a site that had all the things I wanted to have, all the things collected in one place. You had to look at several pages to get the books, the movies, the news, and every stuff like that. So I wanted to get everything in the same place, and since there were none, I created one. And apparently a lot of other people liked it, so they kept coming back, and the site grow and grow, and today it is what it is, and it's a pretty big site with a lot of stuff that's happened the last 25 years. So I'm very happy that I've had it up and running for so long, but I didn't really plan it in the beginning, so it's fun that it happened. Next question is a little bit about the books I've written, and I've actually written 3 books. The first one is just simply called Lilja's Library, the book, and that is basically what the title says. It's the website in book form, and it's all the interviews and reviews that I've done by 2010. So the site had been live for 16 years, 15-16 years by then, and all of those were collected in the book, and I also did some reviews and interviews that isn't on the site, that's just available in the book. The second book was a quiz book about all the Stephen King movies that had been done up to 2013. So that's basically a book you can have if you're on long travel or something like that, or just want to challenge each other. There's questions about all the movies, and you can compete with each other and see who gets the most right answers. And the third book, and the one that I'm actually most proud of, is called Shining in the Dark. And it's a collection of stories. I haven't written the story in it. I've collected it, so I'm the so-called editor of the book. And it has a story called, well, actually, I'm not going to tell you what it's called, and I explain why later. It has a story by Stephen King that hasn't been released in one of his books. It has a story that is specifically written for this book by the Swedish author John Ajvide Lindqvist, that has also written Let the Right One In, that you might have heard of. It has a story by Richard Chismar, it has one by Clive Barker, and a lot of other great authors have contributed. So, and that book has actually been released in 13 different languages and 26 different editions. And it's actually been released in Italy, and the Italian edition looks like this. And the reason that I didn't want to tell you the story that Stephen King has written in this is that I'm actually going to give away 2 copies of this book to some of you, and you this contest is together with the publisher Independent Legions. And what you have to do to have a chance to win is you have to tell me what Stephen King's story is called in English in the original title. So do that and check below, I guess, where and how you should enter. So those are the 3 books that I've published that has to do with Stephen King, and I'm very proud of them, and it's quite a good feeling to have a book that you have put together yourself in your hand, so that's fun. I also got a question if I'm working on another book, and well, my brain is always on, so I have a lot of ideas, but to go from an idea to a finished book is quite a long journey, and it involves a lot of people and a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of interested people that has a publishing house and stuff like that. So it's a lot of things that has to click and connect in to get it to the finished book. So I have a lot of ideas, but I don't have any concrete book happening at the moment, but hopefully in the future. As you might know also, and one of the questions is about that, I have done 2 interviews with Stephen King. They are both on my website, and I did them a little more over 10 years ago. So and it was very interesting to talk to Stephen King. If I remember correctly, the first interview was about 45 minutes, and the second was between 30 and 40 minutes, something like that. And we spoke on the phone, and of course I was quite nervous when when the phone rang, and I picked it up and heard, "Hi, it's Steve." So that's not a telephone call you get every day. But as we spoke, he's very easy to talk to and very friendly and very natural. And so basically when we had spoken a while, it was almost like I was speaking to someone that I know. So he's very easy to talk to, and I enjoyed those interviews very much. The next question is about what I think about the new version of The Stand that we saw here premiering in the US in December, and around the globe late last year, early this year. And well, I'm a bit torn on it. I think that it has its advantages, and it has its failure as well. One of the things that I had problem with was in the beginning when you saw all those swollen throats. I thought that looked a little bit strange and not very natural, if you can call it that, when someone is dying of the virus. I also think they moved quite quickly, and personally, as I had read the book, I could fill in the gaps in the miniseries or the series by what I know. But I can imagine that if someone who hasn't read the book sees it, it has some gaps, and those gaps might make some of the plot harder to understand, and you might not understand why certain characters do certain things and so on. I also think the new ending was a little bit over the top. I think we could have done without that, and focused more on actually getting more of the stories into the season. I think that would have made it better. It's also, I'm also asked often if I like the new one or the miniseries from the mid-90s, which I like the best. And that's a very hard question to answer, because they are quite different. They are based on the same book, but they have totally different format, so to speak. One is in sequence and one is jumping, and I can see both pros and cons with both those ideas. Actually, I don't think one is only good and one is only bad. So I think that's both good and bad. If I had to pick one, which is very hard, I think I would pick the new one. Mostly because it feels more fresh, and the old one seems a little bit aged and not as fresh as the new one. So that's why I would do that. But there's a lot of talk about it, and people have a lot of opinions about it, and the actors in it. So it's divided the King community a little bit, but it's good.